timestamps will be good. But if you like to write by hand, it won't hurt you. It won't be that big a deal. Okay. Let me show you, let me kind of walk you through the nuts and bolts of how to format and all that stuff. Okay. How do you submit? So I'm going to open up my Google Drive, drive.google.com. Okay. Has anybody in this class never used Google before? If so, tell me.
I've
Everybody
always used Microsoft Word. I mean, I've never did it with Google.
never used Google? Okay.
Mm-mm.
Anybody else never used Google before?
I've only used it to share. I've never actually like typed something to share. It's always been something somebody shared with me.
Okay. You never used it yourself, but you have seen it when other people share stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll kind of show you around on how to use it. So one thing that I'm not going to give you an intense lesson on where each button is and all that, but I will give you a sort of brief lesson here on how you navigate with it. Okay. So one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a template to use. This is what the template's going to look like. I haven't uploaded it yet. I'm going to do that um, soon. Okay. But this is what the template looks like. So it says first and last name, Dr. Yeager, English 101, the date, last name, and page number up here. Whenever you guys get this, whenever you guys click this in your Brightspace page, um, what you will need to do, if you make sure that you're signed in to your Google account, right? But you want to, whenever you open this, you'll want to click File, Make a Copy. Then you can save it to wherever you want in your Google Docs. It's like, here's my folder, New River 101, right? So I'm going to save it to my folder, New River 101. And I'm going to make a copy then. So then, after you make that copy, you can then just kind of plug and play on the template. So, Jeff Yeager, the date today is 29th of August, 2024. Up here where it says last name, I put my name there, right? And then you can, a lot of the stuff that's in this template's just general advice, but um, you can erase after you've made a copy for yourself. You can erase that, and then just kind of start on the first line. Okay, so it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, right? Like whatever your first line is, to quote Charles Dickens there, right? Whatever your first line is, start typing away at it. Whenever you guys are getting ready to submit, I'm gonna I'm gonna show what it will look like on your screens. I'm looking at this English class like I'm a student. Okay. Whenever I go to this assignment Dropbox to turn in the first paper, all you'll have is a text box. I'm not giving you an attachment box for the simple reason that I want you to use Google and not Word. Okay. So when you submit, all you got to do is here on your Google Doc, go to the top and click share. Then anybody with the link needs to be able to edit the file. Anybody with the link needs to be able to edit. Okay, so make sure that that is enabled. If you forget to do that, when I open the file, I'm not going to be able to read it, or I won't be able to comment on it. So anybody with the link can edit. Basically, all you got to do is copy that link, and here where I turn it in, just copy and paste the link to that document and submit it, and I'll get it that way. Okay. When you actually submit for real, give me that link and submit. So that's all you got to do. As long as those editing permissions are enabled, anybody with the link can edit. You'll be good to go. On Google Drive, to avoid clicking that every time, like maybe you click it once, but then you forget to click it another time, you can actually make the entire folder shareable. Okay, so like here's my new River 101 folder. I clicked it. I can click manage access, and then I can make sure that anybody with the link can edit that entire folder. So if you save that template to your folder, right, then you send me that link, but then maybe something else is in your folder later. As long as that folder is shareable with anybody with the link, everything in it will be. So that'll actually, if you just do this once, you won't have to worry about clicking anybody with the link and edit. You don't have to worry about doing that over and over and over. If you just do it with a folder the first time, everything in the folder will be shareable. Okay.
And that's how we will do it for the grouping. So everyone can read it.
Yeah,
When you-
whenever you guys come for peer review next week, you'll just copy and paste the link into the Zoom chat room, and that'll be how you guys can access each other's next week for peer review, to read each other's. So it's actually really easy that way, right? Really, you don't have to worry about emailing them to each other and all that, right? All you got to do is put that link in, and somebody can get to it. So yeah, that is how you will end up submitting to me in the end, is doing that. Okay. As far as the features of it, I mean, it's pretty much got all the same basic features that Word has, right? Like up here is where you can indent and center things and all that. Your fonts up here, all the tools you need are up here. The buttons are in slightly different places. I actually think it's a little more user friendly than Word myself. I say that as somebody who's used Word my entire life. As somebody who's used it my entire life, switching to this has been a jolt, to say the least. Yeah, I started college in 2006, right? So I've been using Word pretty religiously since then, as first a student and then a professor. So over the past year, I've switched to this, and it hasn't really bothered me that much, frankly. I actually think it's a lot more snappy. I grade papers a lot faster using this than Word too. So, any questions on the technical aspects there as far as how you use Google? Anything like that? So the one thing that don't want you to do is use Word first and then import it into Google. You can technically do that, but your timestamps are going to get messed up. I'll show you guys what a good timestamp looks like. This is I had to write this paper. I wrote this paper last week for my graduate ethics class. Okay, I'm taking, even though I've already got a doctorate, I'm taking classes to get another master's in philosophy. So I wrote this paper last week. And you can kind of see here, here's my whole editing process, right? I started it on August 22nd at 12:53. You can see exactly where I started, what it looked like, right? By 1:32, I had a certain amount of things done. I wrote that first page in like 30 minutes. By 1:49, I had a little bit more done. Then I took a break. Like I think that was the day that we did our first class last week, right? So I was busy that evening with you all. I wasn't working on it then. The next day I picked it back up at 2:55. The paper was right there. Then you can kind of see how I kept writing on it all day. So at 3:30, I was on the fourth page. By 5:25, I was on the fifth page. Then I took a break for a while, right? And by 9:21, I was on the seventh page. And at 9:57, I finally finished the darn thing. So you can kind of see there how all those timestamps for my editing history on all the time that I worked on the file. When you share it with me, and I can look at that. If I see something like this, I'll say, okay, yeah, this paper was written by a human being, right? Look at all these times this person went back and forth to it, right? So it's a good thing. It shows you your process. But if you're, again, if you write it by hand first and then just come in here and type it, its timestamps will get a little skewed, but it won't be that bad. I can always, there's other pieces of evidence to show that you are writing besides just these timestamps. So it's a handy piece of technology. I think it shows in an age where we as teachers don't know whether what we're reading is real or not. All right. This is just one way that we can, one tool we can use to hopefully get genuine work. So other questions or concerns about Google or anything like that? Okay, now will be a good time to take a break. Whenever we get back from our break, I'm actually going to give you a lesson on AI. Okay, I'm going to show you some sites and I'll show you what it's capable of. And I'll kind of give you guys a nice ethics lesson on how you can use it to help you as you write, not to do the work for you. I will show you how you can use it to help you. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys in the last half of class, I'm going to give you guys a nice tutorial on. All right, everybody, I'm back. Hopefully everyone else is back as well. So we will now pick it up.
I got a question real quick.
Sure.
Have you graded the AI quiz yet? Like, are you done grading those, or have you not started yet?
Not yet. I'm going to catch up on my grades this weekend. So,
Okay. I was just wondering.
yeah, technically the deadline hasn't even happened on those yet. So that'll be tonight. So yeah, I'll grade those for you all this weekend. I know a few of you were concerned that it said you only got one question right or whatever, but that's because that one question was graded without me because it was just a multiple choice question. So it's waiting on me to grade the other questions. So if it's telling you like you only got one question right out of 5 or whatever, don't pay attention to that because I haven't graded it yet. Okay. Brightspace's gradebook works strange and sometimes, and that's one of the ways in which it works strange. But I'm going to look at those for you this weekend and send you a grade on them, as well as fix the Hawks grades. I'm going to try to get all that right tomorrow too during my office hours. Other questions to that effect before I start on AI?
I had a question about the discussion post with like the questions and stuff.
Okay.
Do you have like a preference for how we answer those questions? Like, do you want them in like paragraph form or just kind of like the answers to the question in a list?
That's a good
Or does that
question.
matter?
That's a good question. I would say it doesn't really matter.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, typically, if you do answer it in a list, like just try to answer them in a good way, right? Where it's not just like yes or no or something.
Right.
Saying, but other than that, I don't really care which way you go about it.
Okay.
You can kind of use the questions as a suggestion for writing a paragraph if you want, or you can just number them either way. Good. Now I will proceed to showing you this tech, and on your react button down below, give me a thumbs up if you have used a form of AI before, even just playing around with it. And Koss has used it, Christian, Catherine. You have Bryson, is that a thumbs down for you who have not used it? Wanda?
Yeah.
Okay. Amber's used it before.
Amber's Jordan. Just wanted to remind you.
Jordan, right? Linda, you have used it before, you said. Those of you who have used it, what types of AI have you used? Have you used something like Chat GPT, or have you used even just something like Snapchat AI or something like that?
I have AI on my phone and it does like live translate and you can take pictures of things and search it. I don't know if you guys have seen the commercials, but the S24 or whatever, all those AI things.
Right. What about some of the rest of y'all? Which other ones have you played? What different ones have you played with?
I've used the Chat GPT doing things with my kids.
What kind of stuff have you used it for with your kids?
They had a project about like writing riddles and different things that they were supposed to use it for. Um, just asking it a bunch of questions.
Right. What some of the others? Linda, you said you used it before. Which one did you use? Or you gave a thumbs up earlier, so
Yeah.
yeah, which software have you used before?
I think I have a bad I was checking the TV a few times.
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ones that I'm going to show you ChatGPT first, but if you talk to the tech people today, they'll actually tell you that ChatGPT is now way behind on the recent developments. Like it was sort of good at getting good PR at first, but a lot of other AIs have since gotten better at things than it has. So I will show you it, and but I'll also put a caveat on it that there's better ones out there. Let me open a window. So there's lots of good ways that you can use this stuff for good. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm going to try to express here with this lesson. So I have my window open. So to get the ChatGPT, I always go use this link, and that is chat.openai.com. Okay. And that'll usually take you to the main window for it. I like to, anytime I'm on it, I like to log in. If you have a Google account, everybody's going to need a Google account in this class, right? If you have a Google account, or Microsoft or Apple, you can sign into it that way. So here we are, complete blank slate, right? How do you use this thing, you might ask? Well, if you were going to use it for a purpose that is not good, I told it the other day, please write a 3-page personal narrative for me about the time I went to an Atlanta Braves game when I was 12. Then here it came, right? 3-page narrative. It's called A Day at the Ballpark. When I was 12 years old, my father surprised me with tickets to a Braves game. The moment felt like an instant dream come true. Growing up, I'd always been a baseball fan, glued to the TV whenever the Braves were playing. Chipper Jones was my hero, and I wore his jersey so often that it was starting to look a little too worn out. The day my dad handed me those tickets, I could hardly believe it. I was actually going to see the Braves live. So it basically did exactly what I'm asking you to do next week. It spit it out for me in 10 seconds. Okay. Now, if I was gonna read this and grade it, I can't honestly say that I would give it a good grade. It's well written. Okay. It doesn't make grammar mistakes, but the content that's in this is pretty shallow, and it's kind of easy. It's one of those just instincts that your professors have as readers. Like, I've been reading stuff my whole life now, right? Like, my job is to read things. And usually we just have a good intuition if we read something like this that it's written by a machine, not a person. It's hard to kind of explain that scientifically, but as somebody who has been reading for a profession my whole career, it's easy to tell. Okay. Um, it's somewhat pretty good. I told you guys the conclusion is the most important part of a narrative. Says looking back, the conclusion that it came up with, looking back now, that Braves game just wasn't about baseball. It was about the bond I shared with my dad and the way he made a simple trip to the ballpark feel like an epic adventure. Even today, I can still picture the bright lights of Turner Field, the crack of the bat, and the sound of the crowd. But more than that, I can feel the warmth of that day, the joy of being a 12-year-old kid at a baseball game with his dad. Right? That's kind of like a heartwarming little spin it puts on this fake story at the end, right? Um, so this is nefarious, right? This is when you're using it for a purpose that is not ethical. You were using it in this case to do the thinking for you, right? You're doing hardly anything yourself. Lots of times I'll have people copy and paste this in the Word or in the Word or something. They'll change the font and write their name on it and call it a day, right? I've had people do that before. And people who do that don't end up failing, okay? Because I like to think more often than not, my little intuition kicks in, and then when I start to investigate, um, I see that this wasn't written by a person. But if I pull up, if I go back to my Google Drive, um, actually formatted what it sent me. So I'm asking you guys to pretty much write a 3 to 4 page narrative. Let's see. Forget which folder I put it in. Let's see. AI narrative. There it is. So I pretty much formatted it and copied and pasted it in. It came out with it spit out a good 2.5 pages within the span of 10 seconds. Right. Whenever I'm asking you to write something 3 to 4, the AI is really only good with writing about 2.5. That's about its limit as far as what it's capable of. Okay. So this is a case that's pretty obvious, right? You don't use it to do thinking for you. And so, but there's lots of gray areas here, right? One of those questions on the AI quiz asked something to the effect of, what if I ask it to write an outline for me, right? I ask it to write an outline for me. And after that outline, I use the outline it gave me, and then I write everything in my own words. Okay. That was one of the questions on the AI quiz. Is that acceptable? Do you think? If you use it to help you brainstorm, it maybe writes an outline for you, and then you write a paper yourself based on the outline it spit out for you. Is that acceptable?
No,
Okay. Why not?
because you're basically using it to write a portion of your paper, which still is cheating.
You're exactly right, Winston. Right. It's doing the thinking for you in this case. So even though every word in that paper is yours, you put zero original thought into writing that paper, right? It did everything for you. It held your hand, right? So that is cheating if you do something to that effect. You can, now that's a ethically gray question, right? You could say, well, every word is yours. Is there an original idea in this world, right? Those are few and far between. You can make an argument to that effect, but I would suggest that if you're using it to think for you, it is not a good it's not a good thing. So with that said, what are some ways that we can use it to enhance what we're doing? I showed you guys, well, I'll just start a new tab instead of showing you this old one, a new chat. I showed you guys a minute ago that I wrote an ethics paper last week. Okay, so I'll pull that up here. Paper for ethics. So this paper that I wrote for ethics was about a 8-page analysis. It was about St. Augustine's Confessions. Okay, 8-page paper that I wrote on St. Augustine. So every word of this is mine, right? Every word came from up here. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, now I want to use it to help me improve. So you can prompt it in a way that it will help you improve. So maybe let's say something to the effect of, I'm going to copy and paste my paper for my graduate ethics class in the next message. I would like for you to give me some advice on ways to improve my syntax, grammar, and I would also like for you to examine premises of my argument, see if it's a good argument. Okay, so I'm giving it several criteria here to look for. When you produce your response, please give me an itemized list of suggestions to look at. Okay, so now I'm going to copy and paste my paper in here. The thunder outside. I don't know. I might accidentally get knocked off the call, by the way, guys. The thunder outside is very loud, and so I don't, if I lose power or something. No, that's what happened.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Was you? Yeah.
Yeah, that happened to me earlier.
Yeah, I can. This spare bedroom working in at my apartment's like a bunker, and I can hear it from here. So it's gonna be a whopper. Well, you see here what it's done for me. I prompted it in this way, right? So it popped up some examples of things that I'm doing wrong, right? So it says sentence flow and transitioning. I had a sentence The famous passage about the pear tree embodies a universal fact about the human condition, that teenagers are the worst, right? That was kind of a joke that I made in the paper, right? St. Augustine was talking about how when he was a teenager, he stole fruit and then destroyed the fruit without eating it, right? He felt guilty about that. So I was kind of writing about that part of his narrative. So it says, well, my expression, teenagers are the worst, feels out of place and tone for an academic essay. I could say this passage captures a universal truth about the tumultuousness of adolescence, right? So technically, that does sound a little more formal than what I wrote, right? So in a way like this, I could look at that and think to myself, okay, that's a suggestion I might take. But here it's telling me that I used a present tense verb when I should have used a past tense verb, right? So it gives me all these different things that I can work on, argument and premises. So it says maybe my thesis could have been clearer. I actually disagree with it on that. I think I wrote a pretty clear thesis, so I wouldn't take its advice on that, right? But maybe I read this point. You suggest that Saint Monica serves as a foil to Augustine, which is an interesting idea. Strengthen this by providing more detailed comparisons. How does Monica's path to happiness differ from Augustine's in terms of specific virtues or behaviors? So if I read that comment, I might think to myself, okay, yeah, I didn't really develop that enough. So like you could kind of go back later and add your own stuff in to take its suggestion, right? Um, so maybe here, I think to myself, okay, I would like for you to provide me an itemized list syntax suggestions so I can avoid long, clunky sentences. Whenever I write something, that's my biggest sin as a writer. I write really long-winded sentences that are verbose and wordy, right? That's my biggest weakness as a writer. Darn, it's laying into me pretty hard here, right? It gave me 10 suggestions for ways I can be less wordy. So it says the way that I wrote on number 10, the way that I wrote the original sentence says the definition of lust is extended out to injurious acts that are meant to do harm, such as the impulse for revenge or the lust of robbing someone, or even the pleasure of watching the pain of another at gladiator events. It told me a better way that I could write that sentence is lust extends to harmful impulses such as revenge, theft, or taking pleasure in others' pain at gladiator events. Well, that's certainly a much less wordy way of writing the same thing than the way that I wrote it. You see what I'm saying? It's doing what I'm asking it to do. It's helping me cut down some fat out of my essay. Says avoid overly complex introductions. Reflecting even further, Augustine draws an analogy with an escaped prisoner whose efforts are futile. It says a better way I could write that is Augustine compares his situation to an escaped prisoner's futile efforts. So I can have this thing pop up a list of suggestions, and I can take them or leave them. But this is a way in which I'm using my own brain here, right? I can use this in a way to give me some suggestions, and I might choose whether I want to take the suggestions or not. But it's a way that you can kind of work and have it kind of give you like a little little layer of feedback to help you be a better writer. So you could even ask it something like maybe when you're writing your narratives, you can ask it something like maybe you would give it your rough draft, right? And then you could say, could you give me some suggestions on where I might improve my details, for instance, right? Like, am I showing? You can ask them a question like, am I showing and not telling, right? Give me some ways I can improve that. So, like, even when you're writing your narratives over the next week, that's something that you can think about. Is stuff like that, right? You can actually play around with this and ask it questions like that. But I always tell it to give me a list of itemized suggestions, because if you don't, it'll try to rewrite what you've written in its own way. I would always suggest if you use it, ask it to give you itemized suggestions on how to improve your work, right? Don't just tell it, fix my essay, because otherwise it will do it and it'll spit out. And like if I say, please reproduce the essay in a way that cuts down on wordiness. Well, if I ask it to, it'll rewrite my whole essay for me in its own way. So you kind of got to be wary of that. I would always suggest asking it to give me advice, and then I can choose whether to take its advice rather than it completely fixing my essay for me and then copying and pasting it. Okay. You run less risk of bad ethical areas that way. And it also does some stuff that's dumb when I do this. Right? One of the things that I will preach to you all semester is I hate lazy transitions. So, like the fact that it gave me an in conclusion transition, right? That's Bush League, right? That's elementary school stuff, right? You want to typically avoid those sorts of transitions like first, second, third, in conclusion, right? Those are like really elementary ways to write transitions. It's better than no transition at all, but you can write transitions in a way that's better than that. So if I even ask it to fix something for me and then don't think about what it's doing, it could arguably make your work worse, right? So I would always suggest having it give you an itemized list of things that you can then, once it pops it up, you can decide for yourself whether you're going to take its suggestion or not. Don't just take its suggestions blindly. That's kind of what I'm trying to tell you here. Okay. Sometimes it'll give you wrong advice, or sometimes it'll even pop up something that's just frankly not right. But most of the time, it'll pop up some stuff that'll help you. Just use your own brains to think about what it says, right? So if you ask it something like, am I doing enough show and not telling? Can you give me a suggestion on where I might fix that? It'll certainly do that for you, but then you can decide for yourself whether you want to take the suggestion or not. Don't just let it do it for you, and accept what it does blindly, because sometimes it will lead you astray. So this is an example of how in a class like this you might use it ethically. I know earlier a couple of you guys told me you struggled with things like run-on sentences, right? Give me a second. Give me just a second. I'm gonna dig up a bad paper. Let's see. My well, like I've had some papers before that are really rough. I actually, in my grammar class, I teach teachers, future teachers, and I asked them to grade this like really horrible paper that I got once, right? So if I was going to take that paper and plug it in here, there's run-on sentences all over the place. I can be like, help, look at this paper, have it show me and give me some advice on how I can fix my run-on sentences. All right. It'll do stuff like that for you. So really, with technology like this, ideally speaking, grammar mistakes should start to go down a lot, right? Because if you're using this wisely, it'll help you to avoid making those types of mistakes. So I would suggest using it for things like that too, to also improve your work. Okay. But use it to improve your work, not do your work for you. You guys want me to, are curious about it, and do you want me to make it do something that I haven't done yet? Are you curious that it can do something and want me to search something while I'm doing this tutorial? Anything like that while I'm here on the screen? Well, even like, let's say, for instance, you were taking a lit class from me, right? Let's say instead of English 101, let's say you're taking me for English 200 or whatever, right? Let's say you read something really complicated like the Iliad. You just finished reading book 1 of the Iliad. You think to yourself, did I really understand that? I'm not sure I understood everything that happened. You can also ask it stuff like, I need help explaining book 1 of the Iliad. Can you give me a detailed summary on it? Well, if I burn through and read that, it actually wrote a really darn good summary, right? So if I was trying to study for a reading quiz or something, right, I was thinking to myself, I'm having trouble keeping these facts straight. You can ask it to do something like this and re-explain something to you, and then maybe it'll kind of click in, right? So I would suggest using it for something like a good study tool in a case like this, right? It can help you study, and maybe it can explain things to you in a different way than what maybe your book gives you, or maybe like what your professor says, right? Sometimes it helps to get a second explanation on things. So if you were struggling to understand the Iliad as you were reading it, right, you can ask it something like that, and that might help you understand the Iliad, right? So I would even suggest that that's an ethical way to use it, because you're using it to help you learn and help you understand, right? You're not turning in this work that it's producing, but you're using it as a tool to kind of help you comprehend, right? So the possibilities are endless as far as what you might do with it. Just don't use it to do the work for you. There's another one I want to show you, and that's Poe.com. Poe.com. And like Edgar Allan Poe, the writer, right? Poe.com. And if you go to Poe, Poe's got a ton of different AIs that you can use. So they actually have Chat GPT built into Poe, right? So you don't even have to go to Chat GPT's website to use it. You can use it right here straight from Poe. But there's a ton of different ones on here that you can play with. Here's one called Ideogram. Excels at creating high quality images from text prompts. So provide me a picture of a tiger fighting a lion. I'm just making something up. Well, evidently I have to pay Poe to use this AI, right? They want their money from me. But if I had a subscription, it would probably do that for me, right? So you can do stuff like produce pictures for you. You can do stuff like produce PowerPoints for you. You can explore around on this site. And there's probably something on here for just about anything that you want. Let's see if this one will work without a subscription. Well, it's not really a tiger fighting a lion. It kind of failed at what I told it to do. Maybe I need to give it a more specific prompt. So that's two tigers. Where's the lion at? Well, it's again failing at what I'm telling it to do. Maybe this isn't a good engine. Here's a picture of a pack of wolves howling at the moon. Well, there we go. It did what I told it to do that time. Right. So it can do stuff for you, like even like create a photo for you, which is kind of interesting. Produce a photo of I'm just trying to think of something. Produce a photo of. Give me somebody famous. Tell me somebody famous. Throw me a bone. Just somebody throw me a name.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. Okay. Produce a photo of Johnny Depp in the style of Vincent Van Gogh's. Oops.
Ah,
Right. Yeah, that's actually pretty cool, isn't it? Right. So it kind of takes Vincent Van Gogh's art style, right? And made a picture of Johnny Depp in that sort of Vincent Van Gogh art style. I have a Vincent Van Gogh calendar in my house, right? So it does look the collars and things like that do look similar to Vincent Van Gogh. Um, Produced the Titanic in a way that is reminiscent of Picasso. Right. So it's kind of got those Picasso like surrealistic looking collars. So it didn't do a good job saying make a picture of a tiger fighting a lion. They can do that, right? I don't know what was up with that. Um, Pretty neat technology here. Um, so I haven't played around with everything on here. I've just kind of played around a little bit, but there's all kinds of tools here that you can look at. There's all kinds of image generation bots. Um, Here's one called PDF Summarizer. Maybe like you have like a really complicated reading, right? Maybe you just want to get the gist out of it. You could do if it's in a PDF form, you could put it in there and it'll summarize it for you. Um, this is a bad one. This is one that you probably should not use, and that is humanize AI text. So it says this bot is made to help you turn your wordy chat GPT text into something readable and engaging. So let's play with this one. I'll take that crappy paper that it wrote about the Braves game, right? So let's see if it makes it better. says that's for an 80 IQ reading level, right? The sentence, if I just looking at that, the sentence structure and things like that are a little more complicated than what it gave me the first time. It still doesn't fully disguise it. Like knowing, I don't think this would be enough to fool me. Well, maybe I can say produce that same paper at a 120 IQ reading level. Now that's a little different, right? This is actually looks better as far as the sentences are more complicated and the wording is more complicated and things like that. So there's AI that will rewrite AI to make it read more human-like, right? So that is not what I want you to do, right? That is definitely breaking the rules. But all the stuff's here, and we got a whole new world of tools at our fingertips. So it's just like any other tool, right? As long as you use it ethically, I have no problem with it. If you're using it unethically, then I do have a problem with it. So you're going to have some teachers in your college career tell you, don't even think about even looking at this thing, right? It's forbidden. I'm not one of those teachers, right? I'm obviously showing you how to use it to educate you on it because it's part of our world now, and whether we like it or not, it's here. So again, I'm just trying to reiterate the fact that it's here. Use it in a way that is beneficial, that is ethical. That's all I ask. So Poe.com, that is this one. And if you have a Google account or an Apple account or something like that, you can create a free account through this. And you can use the ones that don't require a subscription. Okay. There's things on here like little devotional AIs, right? Right. Here's like a Bible AI. I don't know how that works, but like there's like things on here for stuff like that. Essay lengthener AI. That's an interesting one, right? So some of these are even just using them is kind of unethical, right? But just use your head. Use your head. You know what's right. You know what's not. So let me ask you guys this question as a way of kind of concluding for today. Especially those of you who haven't played around much with it yet. Did that tutorial interest you or shock you in any way that it's capable of doing all that? Was all this brand new to some of you? And you're thinking to yourself, oh gosh, right? What's your reactions to what I just showed you?
Definitely something new and different. I also figured out why they couldn't generate an image of a lion fighting a tiger, and that's because it was violent and explicit. Because I tried it on my AI, also wouldn't let me do that.
It wouldn't let you do that either. Okay,
No.
that makes sense.
I thought it was cool to see where the generated AI images come from because I'm always seeing those like on social media and stuff, and I never really played around with the websites for AI, so I didn't know that that's how you did that. So that's cool. I'll probably be making random AI images now.
Yeah, it's very easy to do as I just showed you. Yeah, are any of you guys excited about the possibility of maybe using it to help you edit your papers or anything like that? You see potential for it there?
Definitely for my run-on sentences,
Right.
because
So,
I pretty much write what I'm thinking and I don't realize that it's been 5 minutes of me typing this one sentence.
right. So that can potentially help you catch those and fix those before they get to me, right? Yeah, I think that just myself, when I've used it in these ways that are ethical, right? It's helped me cut down on my wordy sentences and things like that. It's helped me be more concise. Of course, I'm going to be showing you guys how to do all this stuff the old fashioned way all throughout the semester. But still, um, it's a tool, it's there to help you use it, right? Other thoughts on it? Anything strike you as interesting or you got any questions about it?
It was interesting to see the image of Johnny Depp. I think I've seen a few AI generated images, and it seems like they're always flawed in some way. There's always, I feel like, little hints that they're AI generated.
Right? What would you say with the Johnny Depp image? What's the hint? What threw you off?
Um, one of his hands like was disformed, like it cut it off the image or something.
Yeah, he's missing part of his finger on his where it connected to his hand.
Yeah.
There's always something weird and generic and inhuman about the pictures that they mess up, though. I see a lot of them online too. Um, I read a lot.
Yeah.
He had it type up for him just on the prompt, and there's a lot of that in the text stuff. It seems like where you can tell it wasn't wrote by a person.
Right. I wonder if it messed it up because I told it to write it like to draw it like Van Gogh. I wonder if it was trying to do something Van Gogh like with that, with it messing up his hands and
Yeah,
stuff.
we have used my husband and I work at a church, and sometimes he will use like AI generated images for like sermon graphics. And the last few that we've done, I've just paid attention in general. Like there was one with a table and the legs didn't align and some of the chairs missing legs. And it's like it always, there is some always little hiccup with it.
That's interesting. Yeah, I think I might play around with it a little more and experiment with that myself just to see because I never really paid attention to that before. Sometimes it's easy to tell, but I don't think that I was able to articulate why I could tell. I think you guys are doing that, right? You're articulating why you can tell it's a computer generated. Yeah, it's amazing stuff, and it only keeps getting better. It's changing every single day, and colleges are gonna, as far as using it, the way that I'm showing you, frankly, is what colleges are gonna have to do, right? Because you're not gonna avoid it. It's here. You can put your certain professors can put their head in the sand and act like it doesn't exist as long as they want, but they're just deluding themselves if they think that people aren't using them in some ways. The way I see my job as a writing teacher is show you ways you can use it and be ethical about it. Um, whenever you guys write your own narratives, for instance, I want you all to write your own narratives, but certainly use the software I showed you to help enhance your work. Grammarly is another software. It's an AI. It'll pop up ways that you can work on your grammar and your syntax and things like that. So if you struggle with things like run-on sentences, right, as several of you have mentioned, you can play around with Grammarly as well. So if you haven't ever used it before, I don't think I've ever used it myself. Have any of you guys ever used Grammarly before? Would any of you guys recommend it?
My husband uses it pretty regularly. Grammar is not his strong suit, but I think that he was using it prior to it being as advanced as it is now.
Right. Yeah, it's certainly evolved a lot over the past couple of years. Yeah, I mean, play around with it too before you submit something for real. I would say right now, over the next week, just focus on getting that draft down. When you write a first draft, don't obsess too much over grammar and things like that. What matters in a first draft is getting it down on paper, right? You can go and enhance and fix stuff after you get that first draft. I would actually suggest not even looking at the AI until you're in the revising process before you submit it. That's when I would suggest looking at it. Let it help you. So, you guys feeling good? You feel good? You feel like you can write this paper? You feel confident? How are you guys feeling?
Feel pretty good about it. I'm gonna need, some work and, definitely some improvement because I'm not very good at writing, but interested to see how it's gonna turn out.
Right. Christian, I saw you give us a thumbs up. You're feeling good. Yeah, don't stress over it. Sleep on it, right? Sleep on it. Decide, like, sometimes your mind works great when it sleeps, right? So even before you decide on a topic, sleep on it, and it'll come to you. So read those examples. Reading those examples will help. We'll talk about those examples next week too in class. So I'll make mention of them for a while next week. So read those and they will help you too. Read those before you even write, I would say, to kind of get an idea for how others write them. Well, I think that's probably enough for the evening. So going to 9:30 every night would be kind of brutal, right? So I feel like I've covered a lot of things tonight. So I think the guys are ready to write this paper. So I'll look forward to seeing you all again next week. And I will also, once I fix these issues with Hawks and stuff like that, I'll send you guys an email and tell you. Okay. But everything you need for the next week is already up on our Brightspace. And I'll be sending you some grades back for your AI quiz and for your diagnostics. Okay, so you all have a great Labor Day weekend, and I'll see you all next week.
You as well.
Have a good one, guys.